Good afternoon. How is everybody today? Give me a thumbs up, give me a wave, give me a reaction. How are you doing this afternoon? All right, I see those waves, I see those thumbs up. Very nice. Good. It's been a hot, windy day here in Antigua and Barbuda, and I am ready and excited. A question. I've done with you um, for 3 years. I think I was there in 2019, 2000, 2020, and now I'm part of this team doing it here now. There are a couple of things that I've said every time that we've come together about leaders and about leadership. And I wonder if you can raise your hand. I'm looking for a couple of, I wonder who remembers those things. There's some things that I've said to you about leadership and about leaders. I wonder if you remember, if anybody remembers and anybody wants to share. Raise your hand. I'm going to ask our host to just, he will unmute the mics of those he would like to speak. All right. So look for your mic being unmuted and just tell us if you remember any of at least three things that I've said to you every time. Okay. I apologize. My own area had a motorcycle passing through, so I had to mute myself. All right, let's try it another way. Anybody wants to share, just unmute your mic and share with us. Anybody? What are some of the things about leadership that we have spoken about um, every year? And perhaps I'm giving one of them at least away um, if I include this year. Anybody? If I don't get volunteers, I will volunteer some people. Hmm. All right. I see a Dawn Blenman. Hi, Dawn. I see. I saw from the movement in your lips that you responded. Can you unmute your mic? Hi, Dawn. Have you been part of the program before? You've done this previously with us.
I have,
Beautiful. Do you
and I don't.
remember?
I was trying to remember, and I don't.
You don't. Okay.
But I
Think about
know. I
something.
know leadership is tough.
Okay. Stop right
Leadership
there.
is
Stop
commitment.
right there.
Uh-huh.
Stop right there. That's enough, and that's one of them that I've said every year. This is not for the faint of heart. All right. Beautiful. I love that. Thank you very much, Dawn. Thanks for starting us off and thanks for being very positive with it. Although, like you said, you may not have remembered exactly. Beautiful. Anybody else? Do I need to volunteer somebody else? Hmm. All right. Deborah Edgel is smiling sweetly. Hi, Deborah. Can you unmute your mic and talk to us? Do you remember anything? Has she gone? Okay, yes, there she is. You need to unmute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, beautiful.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good
How are
evening.
you? How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Like Dawn, I was trying to remember as well,
Okay.
but it was not
It wasn't coming.
coming. But
Okay.
one of the things that was shared yesterday as relates to to being a leader, I was looking at the area with stewardship
Okay.
and the fact that we are reminded that basically everything belongs to God,
Mm,
and we are just, I can say, working for Him. It's
that's
not
right.
anything to do with us. It's not about us, as was also said yesterday. It's all about God,
Amen.
and I think that's very important as leaders to always remember that
Yes.
it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's always about God. Yeah.
Thanks very much for sharing, Deborah. And that's an important um, principle on leadership. especially servant leadership, which is what we are involved in as believers in Christ, it is not about us. It is not about us. And ever so often, every once in a while, when we are flowing, when everything is going good, it is important that we pause and appreciate it is not about us. I heard T.D. Jakes one time testify that in his early ministry, when he was really doing well, preaching all over the United States and internationally, seeing people saved and healed and lives transformed and doing signs and wonders. Every time he got home, he was reminded that this was not necessarily about him because lying in bed at home was his sick mother. And nothing he did seemed to change that. All right. I just saw my sister Marcusa come on. Hi, Marcusa. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
And how are you?
I am doing quite well. Do you want to share a third one with us? Do you remember
Oh,
anything that I've said?
yeah. So nice. Okay, first thing, so nice to see you once again in person.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm seeing you in my home. And every year I I really look forward to this session because like you show it for me, you prove to be a good leader, one that is humble, one that is always willing, to put yourself out to make sure that every year we go into this program. And I take my example from you, always willing, to be humble and to please God first. And once we are pleasing God and we give Him all the honor and the glory, we know that He will guide us and we will be one of the best leaders that He like you encourage us and God encourage you to encourage us. So at least I should be a good leader, better leader every year. So thanks to you once again.
Thank you, Marcusa. Nice to see you. Nice to have you on. And our numbers are getting back up. I like it. We started when I came on, it was 44. We are at 94. Beautiful. Getting there. Um, I'll take one more. I want a man. Hmm. Right. Brother Neville Russell. Is that you? I see you there, bold and handsome in your living room with your iPad in front of you. How are you doing, my brother? Unmute your mic and speak to us, if you don't mind. You're muted.
That we
Beautiful.
have to build a relationship with him to be a good leader.
Mm.
If we don't have that in us, I think we are on the wrong side of life.
All right.
Leadership for me, it is something that have to be a foundation built by the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And when that spirit is within you, then you know that you're beginning to get confident of what you're trying to do.
Nice. Very good.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
my brother. God
Yeah,
bless you.
thank you.
And
God
you were
bless you.
very good. You were very right.
Yes.
It is interesting that having spent 3 years, 3.5 years with his disciples, um, even at the end of that time, our Lord didn't just say, okay, go. He got them together and said to them, wait for the experience of the Holy Spirit. I like to say, um, you get converted and that gets you on the team. But sanctification is when you begin to play. That's when you can join and go out and actually begin to play because that's the empowerment, that's the covering, that's the guidance, that's the direction that we need to get this thing going. Thank you very much for that, my brother. Let me quickly though, as I move into the session, um, and I admit that I'm looking for a magical number on those participants. So let's go. um, a couple of things that I've said to you every time. One is that leadership was not easy, it's tough. It's not for the faint of heart. And I like to join with that to say, respect, as a result of that, I want you to each think a little bit more respectfully of those who take on positions of leadership. Your pastor, your leader in SDMI, your NYI leader, your NMI leader, all right? Um, have a little more respect for them because they're going through some tough stuff that we have not, that we have probably decided that we weren't equipped to do. One of the things we know about leadership is that very often when you get placed in a position of leadership at the time of your appointment, election, at the time that you move into that position of leadership, very often you are not ready. You are not ready. And so you take that position on with trepidation. If you can think of Joshua, how many years did he spend with Moses? And if you look at Joshua chapter 1, on 3 occasions, God said to Joshua, only be strong and of a good courage. Be strong. This is tough stuff. It is not for the faint of heart. All right? Many of those who will criticize and fuss and say all kinds of stuff, they're out of the kitchen. You're in it and you're getting the heat. All right? So appreciate those who lead. Um, the other thing that I tend to say to you is, and I want to say to you this time, I want to underline it and I want to make sure it gets in. These booklets that we have, and I hope you've printed yours, this is your booklet. Write your name on it. Write your notes on the side of it. There's space provided for it there. But more importantly, go back to it. Don't let it get cobweb and dust on your shelf. Occasionally, and perhaps once a quarter, pick up this booklet and just flip through the pages. Because I think you'll find that there's stuff there that reminds you of some things that you have to do, should be doing, and some things that you may not have been doing quite well. All right, so that's number two. Number one, this is tough stuff. It's not for the faint of heart. And so respect those who are in leadership. If you yourself are in leadership, appreciate that you can't do this on your own. You need the empowerment, the guidance, the infilling of the Holy Spirit. And use these books wisely. There is a lot of wisdom in it. Let me then quickly segue into what we're going to be doing today. And I want to start here. Today we're going to be talking about personalities and how to not only appreciate, recognize, but how to get the best out of the different types of personalities that we have. And guess what? Unfortunately, sadly, everybody is not like me. Sadly, everybody is not like you. So that if you at random collect 5 or 6 people and just begin to talk about it, you'll very likely find that not all of you fits into one of the 4 recognized personality type groups. That would mean that different things said to you mean, well, let me change that mean. They might be said in the same way, but you receive them in different ways based on personality type. As simple as that. All right. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to begin to share my screen and we're going to move right into this session. It's not very long, but it's very interesting. And like I said, it is one of those areas where we probably should go back and look at it ever so often. So this is where we are, leading different personalities, how to connect with the people who follow you. And this is lesson 3. So the foundation for this lesson, quite simple. People are and should be different. I think that's a writing point there for you. All right? Yes, people should be different. There's value in their difference. There's value in people's differences. Their personalities won't change. In other words, people are basically who they are. They are made up how they're made up. I almost want to say that's how God made them. And the best and the only person who can really change them is God. That's the way people are. You'll find, sometimes we as Caribbean people push that a little too far. Here in Antigua, there's a famous saying. Antiguans would say, "Asome tap." That's Antiguan dialect for "that's how I am." That is how I am, and they really mean you can't change me. Let me just throw this in here. How many wives spend their lives trying to change that husband? Hello. Only God can do it. All right? Only God. But we're not going there this afternoon. This says when leaders fail to understand and relate to the different personalities within their organization, problems result. When leaders fail to understand and relate to the different personalities within their organization, problems result. If you consider this statement, there's some the building blocks of it, some really important words there. The first is leader. And if you appreciate that leadership involves working with and through people to effect change and to move an organization from where it is to where the group has agreed it needs to go, then you appreciate how important that person is, that one person, leader. Next operative word, fails. When you do not take note of, when you deliberately decide perhaps that you wouldn't consider different personalities. There are different personalities. People are made up differently. Um, I think parents who have identical twins at birth soon discover that while they do many things the same way, each tends to have his or her own identity, differently made up. And if you don't recognize it, if you don't deal with it, if you don't cope with it, if you don't, my apologies, if you don't find a way to relate to those different personalities, trouble will come. It's not if, it's not but, it's when. All right, let's move. This one says good leaders recognize the influence, the personalities, and the spiritual gifts of their people. They read people and then they lead people. So good leaders recognize the influence, the personalities, and the spiritual gifts of their people. They read their people and then they lead their people. Okay? Very, very interesting and very important. Let's move though. Let's continue our progress. Let's look at the 4 basic personality types and how you can identify them, how you can separate them. Now, let me caution you, this is simply an introduction into personality types and personality traits. This is a whole field of study by itself. And as a matter of fact, I'm aware that there is I think it's a 10-hour program that is available through several online sources. There may be people in Barbados who can teach that personality course, but there are courses that delve deeper, that help us to understand and appreciate um, personality types and how we can work with them. Okay, so for each personality type, and there are four main ones that we're going to identify. We put a describing word that kind of encapsulates, that captures that personality type. Okay? So the first is the sanguine personality, and we've described that personality as popular, the popular sanguine. People who fall into this category, they want everything to be fun and they're energized by other people. They like the flow, things are happening, things are moving around them. Okay? As far as their workspace is concerned, tends to be a little messy, and there's clutter, there's some collection of stuff. Sanguine personalities are more interested in things other than workspace. They tend to crave people, they tend to crave activity, and they tend to crave attention. So they walk into your room and deliberately um, dress in a particular way, walk in slightly late, and you have that fantastic entrance cup, 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 with the expectation that everybody in the office will turn around and make a comment. They want those comments, all right? They're doing it deliberately to get those comments. And I didn't call any lady's name. The sanguine can tend to be self centered. There you have it. Their motto is look at me, look at me. Here I am, look at me. Like I said, and we get this very interesting. We see, people who walk in, and when they come in, they make the grand entrance. They expect you to see, expect you to notice. They dress so that you'll notice, and they walk so that you'll notice. And I did not say anything about short people. I did not. I am moving on to my next one, trying to stay out of trouble here today. Melancholy, all right? The melancholy. This is the perfect melancholy. This person believes that anything we're doing is we're doing right. If you're going to do it properly. Take your time, do it well. All right? Workspace tends to be tidy, everything in place, well organized, very detailed, and quite energized by the requirement or by the need, by the expectation that you think through something. Methodical, all right? Often are a bit moody, but they can be artistic, creative, because they have the opportunity, the ability to kind of reach deep into the resets of their mind and think through things and be creative in how they think. Yes, their motto, please understand me. Please understand me. All right. I'm not like the others. Don't come and believe that you can simply walk through. No, take a little time, appreciate me. The third one, the choleric. Choleric. And we've added that word, the powerful choleric. Sometimes it's described that way. All right. These tend to be strong and like to be in charge, want to be in charge, energized by setting goals, goal setting, moving towards getting things done, setting things up to be done. Um, Workspace tends to reflect more function than form. All right, this is what we have to do, and it's set out that way. They want results, and they like things done their way. Not only because not being arrogant about it, but because very often they take the time to think through things and present positions that can be results oriented. In other words, if you follow this, we will get results, and that's why they want the rest of the group to follow. Can be demanding and they can be impatient. All right, powerful. Their motto: do it my way now. Do it my way. Let's get started today. Let's not wait until tomorrow. Okay? Number 4, the phlegmatic. The phlegmatic. And we've described the phlegmatic as the peaceful phlegmatic. The peaceful phlegmatic. Easygoing, peaceful, happy, relaxed, cool as a cucumber. Yeah? No fuss, no fight, no issues with anybody in the office, rolls with everything. All right. Workspace tends to be informal, really simple. Again, this is Mr. Cool, Lady Cool, no fuss. Just take it easy. Um, would rather not be involved if it causes conflict. Okay? So they avoid that kind of situation that becomes confrontational and problematic. May miss deadlines and fail to reach goals because they're Mr. Miss, take it easy. Don't push, don't work too hard, don't kill yourself, don't die on this job. Okay? Tend not to be in a hurry to do anything. All right? Kind of person you'd hardly see. You may not see running. You run. Oh, it's only a little rain. I'll get to the shelter eventually. Their motto, what difference will it make? What difference will it make if I do this or do that? All right? The peaceful phlegmatic. So there we have the 4 basic types. Okay? How do we connect with each of them? And that's the question we're about to look at here. How do we connect with each of these personalities? For the sanguine, that was the first one we looked at. Give them attention and approval. So you recognize somebody as having that sanguine personality. It helps for you to be generous with praise, as we like to say. Wow, that's nice. I like it. Beautiful. And do it publicly. Do it publicly if you can. All right? The melancholy, recognize their need for order and sensitivity. So this person likes things to be structured. They like you to be sensitive. They like you to appreciate their difference and work with it. Okay? Choleric, share that you appreciate them and their work. Share with these types that you appreciate them. Now let them know. Don't leave it to chance. They expect to hear it. And the phlegmatic, they want respect for who they are, for the fact that they're different. Um, Respect them for who they are. Yes, that's one way to connect. We're moving on with this. We're pushing this a little bit. How do you? Which of these personalities, naturally falls into the various roles that we have leaders playing or those who are below us, subordinates playing? And this is the question we're going to talk about here now. Which ones tend to be natural leaders? Which ones tend to be natural leaders? Choleric and melancholy. Those tend to be the leaders. Their personality types tend to put them into that position where they lead. All right? Which ones tend to be natural followers? Phlegmatic and sanguine. Just their personality types. Remember we spoke especially of the phlegmatic, not too much a conflict, not too much stuff. But so I'll do it. I'll join. I'll go along. I'll give good support. Which ones tend to cause the most trouble, most problems? Which ones you can kind of look out for to give you some opposition? Melancholy and choleric. All right, or choleric. Again, I said that there are those 2 types of pronunciation. Which tends to be the most loyal, just naturally because of their nature? Yes, phlegmatic. Phlegmatic. Okay, we're moving on, and I hope you've been writing. If you have your book, those are there's some writing requirements there. I'm just making sure I'm following. Yes. Which one is the most naturally gifted? Melancholy. That's the personality type that tends to be gifted naturally. Which one is the most loved naturally? Of course, of course. The sanguine personality. That's the person who is the social butterfly. I'm moving on. Which one influences people most naturally? Which one influences people most naturally? And that's the choleric. All right? Tends to be the one who will be the influencer who can get people to come around to their side and to follow a particular lead or go in a particular direction. Do some have a mix of personality types? And this one actually caused me to focus a little bit on myself and to appreciate that I am a mix of more than one personality. I think most of us will find that we are a mix of more than one personality, and perhaps this might be a place for us to um, pause a little bit and just reflect for a minute on our own personality type. Which of these suits me best? Which of these am I? I want you to begin to consider that question, all right? Because we're going to talk about it before we end today. How do you lead these personality types? The first thing and most important thing is to have an appreciation of your own personality. What type am I? What turns me on? What turns me off? What makes me tick? What doesn't? Based on my personality. All right? Recognize the personality type that best fits the ministry that you're in. Appreciate and think about it, think through the personality type that fits the ministry that you're working with, that you're involved in. Thirdly, learn the different personalities of your team. In other words, um, and make it deliberate. Think about the people who are part of your team and try to make uh, have an appreciation for the personality type that each of them represent. Oops. Hello, 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 hello. My apologies. Every once in a while, I'm using a presenter, and every once in a while, it sticks on one of those keys. I'm sorry. We should be right. This is where we were. So learn the different personalities of your team members and fill your team positions by personality. In other words, again, if you have an appreciation for the type of personality that suits this particular aspect of ministry best, try to fill that with someone who has that personality type or displays that personality type in their own character. All right. Again, appreciate that people are mixes. People tend to be blends of these personality types, and not many of us display a single personality type only. Okay. Um, but try to fill those positions based on personalities that you know. What is interesting and important is that sometimes as leaders, we put people in positions that based on their personality type, it's as though we set them up to fail immediately because they're just not gonna fit. If somebody is not the people type, why put them in a position where their role involves interacting with people and motivating people? It's not going to work. You're setting that person up to fail, and you're setting yourself up to possibly have to do a lot of work to get their ministry moving or their aspect of the ministry going. All right. Place team members closest to you based on your own personality weaknesses. In other words, surround yourself with people who help to shore up those areas where your personality may not be as strong. All right? Keep those people close to you. Those who are like you know they're like you understand them, you can read them. Those you can kind of send out there. The ones who are different are the ones who you probably want to have there close to you because they help you to appreciate others a little more. Number 6, motivate team members according to their personality and personality type. And that's because different team members, like we saw, um, really are motivated by different types of motivational actions and motivational strategies. Some like public, some like private, some like, a phone call would be good enough. A gift is required sometimes, but you must work through that as a good leader. Be careful not to label people. And that's because while with all the studies and all the everything that has been learned about personality types, I kept saying you'd notice that most of us, all of us, in fact, are blends of these personalities. And it is very possible that based on a person's circumstances, a particular aspect of their personality comes out. Be careful not to label that person and to the extent that you write them off just based on what you've seen there or just based on what you've seen in one instance. All right? It could be a challenge. Number 8, help your people understand personality. I suppose this requires that each of us also goes back and kind of understands this personality thing a little better for ourselves because you want to help people understand the different personality types. And hi, um, one of the things that we have not been very good at as a people or as a people group is dealing with sensitive matters, like personality, because that's why number 7 becomes so important. As soon as we start talking about personalities and personality types, people tend to get defensive because very often they think we're about to judge them or label them. But teams work best when they can be vulnerable with each other, when we can understand each other and share. These are areas where I'm strong. These are areas where I'm not so strong. So that these are areas where I may need your help, your support. These are areas when you see me going off the handle, step in quietly and change or bring me back. All right. Form teams of complementary strengths and personalities. In other words, when you're building teams and those below you, try to make sure that the people who are working together, their personalities complement each other. Where they don't, try to talk people that you're putting into a team through some of the challenges they can expect. Try to ensure that you prepare team members for participation in a team, and that's because sometimes, as a leader, you don't have the opportunity to select your team. Your team is selected for you, and you have to work with whoever you've been given. Yes, make sure work on that. All right. And then number 10, lead others based on their personality style. What works for John? What works for Mary? What works for Lou? You know, think through. Again, I emphasize leadership is not just about standing up and saying what we have to do. It's about working, influencing others to join you on the journey. Let's continue. What we want to look at here are the some descriptions that help us to appreciate the different personalities and how they work. So we have, all right, choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholy, or melancholy, 4 personality types. And in the far left column here, we have some areas that we're judging or we're attempting to um, find which personality type or how each personality type responds. Okay? or is best described. I was trying to find another word or use another word there because the first one is description. If you could describe the each of the personalities, the choleric tends to be a people mover. Sanguine tends to be a recognition seeker. Phlegmatic, cooperative group worker, and melancholy, reserved perfectionist. Okay, this is how they work. This is how you get the best out of them. All right. We're gonna continue moving. Work traits. What will you find in each of these as a worker? Choleric is goal oriented, sanguine, people oriented, energetic, inspiring, phlegmatic, team oriented, steady, steady worker, hard worker, and melancholy, numbers, plans, organization. In other words, these are things that they work well with. Basic style, basic character trait, if we call it. So I'm just gonna call each the four of them. All right. First, directing, our sanguine person, interacting, stabilizing, cautious. Under pressure, and maybe it might help for us to, in addition to going across, to go down. Okay, so under pressure, our choleric personality would tend to become bossy and impatient. In conflict, they will probably strike back. They feel attacked, they will attack. They will get back at you. All right, and they're guided kind of through life biblically or in terms of scripture by fruitfulness. Okay. Again, looking at the sanguine personality, basic style, interacting, under pressure, emotional or optimistic, you know, sometimes a combination. Response to conflict, tries to sell, tries to share, and then when that's not working, they'll back off. Favorite biblical word, joy. All right. Phlegmatic personality. Their basic style is stabilizing, in other words, keeping things together, keeping things without conflict, without too much change. All right. Under pressure, they will slow down, they will get sulky because you're when they're pressured, pressure is anatomy, it's counter to their personality type. They don't work well under pressure. Okay? Conflict response, they'll submit to authority, they'll bend because no fight. And then their favorite biblical word, peace. It fits. Okay? Melancholy or melancholy, that person, cautious. Okay? Under pressure, overly critical. All right? Look out for them. Conflict response, withdraws, prepares. In other words, they're um, prepared to act, kind of get a plan to work. Okay. Favorite biblical word, truth. Truth. We're moving on. There are a couple of more, and it's interesting that these are set out that way. So what does each of these strongly resist? Choleric resists personal criticism. They don't like it. Sanguine doesn't like and responds negatively to personal rejection. Phlegmatic, sudden, vague change. Don't like change, and I think it came out a little earlier. Like things to remain peaceful, on track. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to continue doing. And melancholy, they react to criticism of their work, okay, and their plans. Let's continue. Ideas. Which of these tend to generate ideas, and what about how do they respond to ideas? The choleric generates ideas. They'll tend to be idea people. All right, people who they're constantly bubbling over. Sanguine will talk about them. Phlegmatic will do the work. All right, and melancholy will make sure the work gets done. Okay, and make sure it's done right. Yes. So one generates, one will talk about, one does it, and one makes sure it's done right. Let's move on. How do they respond to change? Choleric creates the change, starts the change. You know, shares ideas. I think we should do. We should redecorate the office. Um, and the sanguine would like to change the change. In other words, the change is there, but they want something else included and this and that, and you know, um, muddy the waters, kind of bring in all kinds of stuff. Phlegmatic, of course, does not like change, so that person is slow. All right. While Mr. or Miss Melancholy, you must justify it. Why? What's the importance? That person doesn't like change for the sake of changing. Okay. Basic fear. Let's talk about the basic fear. Um, Things that are you'd say like their pet peeve, choleric being taken advantage of, hates not only themselves but watching it and seeing it happen to others. All right. Um, Basic fear for the sanguine personality is social disapproval. Remember, this is the social butterfly. This is the person who likes to be around, be moving. When that doesn't work, or they get rejected as a result of it, it really hits hard. Um, Phlegmatic doesn't like things not being secure and sound. So they respond to loss of security, loss of stable or stability. All right. They don't like environments that appear shifty. And our person who is melancholy in their personality type, they hate imperfection, they hate disorganization. Yes. So we were going to do a breakout for 10 minutes, and we had this there, but I'm watching my time. I see it's about 20, just about 20 minutes, 21 minutes after 6. So we have just about 9 minutes. I wonder if any of you is brave enough. I'm gonna stop sharing so that we go back to the screen, full screen, and I wonder if any of you is brave enough to share with us what you think your personality type blend is, and let's see if we can get some reaction. I'd love to get two people who are bold enough and brave enough to share. Anybody out there? Sister Myrelle, beautiful.
I'm sanguine.
All right.
Yes, I am melancholy mixed with maybe a phlegmatic. And
Sanguine.
Roger say he's sanguine.
Okay, nice.
Probably mixed with
Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about how you.
So you can understand the fun we have.
Yeah. How did tell us a little bit about what your personality involves, Sister Myra and Brother Roger.
Well, yes, I agree. I like to draw and prepare. So if I get something sudden, I want to take time. I want to go separately. I want to prepare that. I want to see how it works out or it doesn't work out, that type of thing. I am more, I will want to plan it, organize, things like that. And I'm a bit on the cautious side. Always, gotta take it easy,
Yeah,
check it out first, see
yeah,
if it
show
might
me.
work or
Yeah,
not.
show me the justification. Show me the steps, kind of thing.
Very much so. Yes,
All
please.
right.
And
Brother Roger, tell us about you.
I like the whole thing with being with people.
Okay.
I don't like noise either. I really don't like noise. So that's part of my personality is that I want noise. If it's gonna be a noise, you know, they do something else.
Yeah, let's be there. If it's
Um,
gonna cause a ruction, you don't want to be there.
I want it. And
Okay.
yes, that whole thing with being part of being accepted is also important for me. I see
All right.
that coming out in the whole.
Thank you. Thank you guys very, very much. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to share? And I love the fact that we have a couple there who are sharing and helping us understand, the different personalities. Anybody else?
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Is it Camila?
Camila. Yes, please.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
I am a mixture between melancholy and sanguine. Yeah. The ones that stick out to me, especially under melancholy, is the fear of imperfection. That is a major fear of mine and something that yeah, that I
So you don't
struggle
like
with.
to come over. You don't like to come over as unplanned and unprepared,
No, no,
right?
no. And like when I like when something is being planned and if it's not going the way I want it, is like, all right, no, let me take over and let me do this because I want to see it done this
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
But also when it comes to the sanguine, I love being with people. I love being around people, I like interacting with people, but also the what it says about the trying to find it back. So recognition. I like and it's not vain, it's not vanity, but I like being told I'm doing a good job.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I'm a mixture of the two of those, two of those, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yes, good evening.
Hi. That's
Yes,
Ava or
yes,
Ava.
it is.
Okay.
Ava, you were correct the first time. Um, it is interesting, similarly to what Camila said, I'm a combination of not two, but all four. And I would have done, and I'm not kidding, I'm so serious. I would have done this, the personality test several times,
Yeah.
and it would always be almost like a balance across,
Wow.
like, and I continue to find that interesting.
Okay.
So I just want to make a point though, um, just my views, neither here nor there.
Yes.
I find that I'm of the opinion that sanguines are sometimes taken for granted. And even in presentations, when you hear how the traits of the sanguine, and I'm not going to accuse you, sir, but sometimes, one tends to stress on, oh, they like attention and this thing and the next. And again, I repeat, I think sometimes sanguines are taken for granted, but one has to, I believe, I guess like all the other personalities may argue, but I think the point you made is that all personalities really have to be respected. And finally, going back to, I guess, the whole with Moses and his experience and some other leaders who did not feel equipped,
Yeah.
it has led me over the years to share the view or be of the view that personalities, no doubt, let me put it this way, God prepares you for that area of ministry. I'm not talking you and yourself like I'm not talking about recognizing that you do have two or four. I'm talking about the fact that you could be a melancholic, a sanguine, or whatever, and still through, by the grace of God. And I'm not trying to spiritualize it either. That's the reality, because Moses didn't think, he was also bold and Lord, what am I going to say? And that's evidence in itself of God equipping
Yeah.
one for ministry. So
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there. God really can prepare you for any area of ministry. And we really should, well, I just said I was going to start. Let me add this. We really should not label. We really should not label, because you're so right. We can start being, what should I say,
Judgmental.
analytical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we tend, and that's, listen, I was hesitant to share my type, But the good part that it was being all four, you know, you could probably get away. But the truth is, if we're honest, sometimes we say, aha, oh, so that person is a sanguine. I know what to do or not do, or that person is a, you know, and we can sometimes manipulate others. That's it. Thank you, Holy Spirit. We can sometimes find ourselves manipulating others as a result of knowledge of his one's personality. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much, Ava, for sharing, and everything that you've said there is on point. I think as leaders, we need to be very careful not to use our knowledge of people's personality types to manipulate them and to quote unquote use them in a way that takes advantage of their personality type. Quite well said. And not restrict people's upward mobility, if we can call it that, because of our knowledge of their personality type. Don't judge. Don't use it as something to hold people back. Very often when we're conducting training in constitutions or manuals, we would say to people, your manual or your constitution is a shield. It's not a sword. It's not something that should be used to cut people down. But it's something that you use when trouble comes. You go back to this and say, well, let's see what this says, how we deal with this kind of situation. And I like to say the same thing about our knowledge in personalities and personality types. All right. Thank you very much for sharing. Unfortunately, our time is just about up, and so I wanna thank you very much for sharing. I would love for you over the next couple of days, or maybe when you meet with your group, or maybe in your family, begin to talk a little bit about personalities and personality types. Expand this, share a little bit on it, get it a little into your head, get to understand, for example, why God chose Gideon for the task that Gideon had. If any of you has researched Gideon's battle, you would realize that that battle required a certain level of creativity, and Gideon was the right man for it. That's why God chose him. I believe each of you has been chosen specially because God knows that you, your character, your personality types, the things that you bring to the table are the things that He can use to get your ministry done. I pray that God blesses your ministries, all of you. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. God bless.